Hello and welcome back to That Handicapping Show at bloodhorse.com. I'm Tom LaMarra, joined again by Claire Novak, and we'll be looking at a 3-year-old stakes this weekend, the Jim Dandy Grade 2 mile and an eighth at Saratoga on Saturday. Of course, the Haskell, also for 3-year-olds, will be run the following day at Monmouth Park. Jim Dandy drew a field of 10, pretty good betting race. The morning line favorite, who has been described as a tepid morning line favorite, is Palace Malice, the winner of the Belmont Stakes. And we believe he's pointing to the Travers. This traditionally is a local prep for the Travers. Pretty good field, some speed, and a lot of horses that like to come from off the pace. So Claire, how do you see this race shaping up?
Well, like you mentioned, Palace Malice, the Belmont winner, obviously is the class of the field. But with Oxbow headed toward the Haskell and Orb waiting out until the Travers, you know, it's not as much of a matchup against that previous quality that we've seen. So he does appear to be, well, he is the best on paper here, being the only classic winner in the field. But a lot of horses having the chance to step up here. Like you said, there's some speed in the race. One thing that's interesting, Freedom Child, who won the Peter Pan in the slop very impressively, going the Jim Dandy distance, he actually displaced his pallet in the Belmont. So when you see that 13th place finish, probably maybe because he couldn't breathe, something like that, he has come back well after that incident, and so they're kind of just tossing the Belmont. He's probably one of the ones that could figure to be up there near the pace. And then Palace Malice actually should be pretty forwardly placed. I wouldn't say he's going to be on the lead, but he'll be up there as well. And then you see it setting up great for a horse like Mylute, who is a closer, and he's going to be one of my picks.
All right. Well, you actually like Mylute on top, correct?
Well,
you're wavering between this race and the Travers, right?
I am, because this horse always comes with a really great late run. He does seem to always be like 6 wide off the turn. And, you know, 5th in the Derby, 3rd in the Preakness. At some point, you'd have to think that he's good enough to get the job done and just hasn't yet. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's because he's a later maturing horse or because he just hasn't gotten a trip that doesn't require him to run like 700,000 feet more than everybody else. Right. But my question about the Jim Dandy versus the Travers is, you know, would that extra ground give him the chance to, you know, keep closing with that late run that you saw from him in these other races? So I probably am going to end up picking him on top or mixing him up with some other horses. But I do think he's a really good horse. I just don't know if this is exactly the race he's going to win, but I do see him coming at some point with one of these big ones. So, yeah, okay. That's a very resounding endorsement.
Expecting some speed from Moreno, who is trained by Eric Gio. 3-year-old Gosapper Gelding, interesting. Back to 2 turns after a couple longer 1-turn races at Belmont. Both were blowout wins on the lead with blinkers.
Yeah, he won the Dwyer, which is a grade 2.
Yeah, I would expect this horse to get a lot of attention. You know, he went up to Saratoga after that, and he's had at least one moderate work since. Of course, you already talked about Freedom Child, who is a potential speed horse. Vijack also from the 10-hole with John Velasquez. And if Palace Malice runs like he did in the Kentucky Derby, which I doubt because it was his only time with blinkers when he rambled through ridiculous fractions, but I do think that he will be close to the pace. I'm going to pick Code West.
This is a really good horse.
Improving Lemon Drop Kid Ridgeling, trained by Bob Baffert. He's won his last 2. You know, the allowance win at Pimlico was nice, but he didn't beat much. Then he came back and won the Matt Winn. He sat up close, just got up by a head, and he's been training well at Del Mar. And I think he may be well placed in this race, so I'm going to go with him because I personally think it's wide open. And I want to see another one from Palace Malice before I jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, that I was actually there for the Matt Winn, and that was a really good race because he went neck and neck with Uncaptured, who was the Kentucky Jockey Club winner there last fall. And in the stretch, he actually got headed by Uncaptured and then came back with, it was very tenacious of him, as I like to say.
It was.
So, yeah, I do think he's a very good horse. And when I wrote my preview of this race, basically those 3, Code West, Mylute, Palace Malice are kind of the top ones. And then I'm hearing a lot about Moreno. So I don't know. I mean, this is a great race at the Spa with some other horses in there that you couldn't be surprised if they just jumped up and won it. Like I think the horse that Carl Nafsker has for Jim Taffel, Looking Cool, the Iowa Derby winner, is obviously classy, and you can never count Carl out. So that's another one just to take a look at, but it's a good race.
All right. As we said, a field of 10 right now before scratches. So that's our look at the Jim Dandy on Saturday. And we thank Brisnet.com for the past performances. For Claire, I'm Tom. We'll see you next time on That Handicapping Show.